This video is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc. If you're looking for cards in the US, look no further as you can use the promo code MTGMudsta to get you 5% off anything on the site. Or if you're in Canada like me, you can use the same promo code at Multizone to get 10% off your orders of singles. If cards aren't what you're looking for, Original Magic Art has playmats, tokens, and sweet art that you can use that same promo code to help you get 5% off your order there. And if you just want to help out the channel, you can always consider becoming a patron for as little as $1 a month and join the generic Goblin Gang. Hey gang, and welcome back. Today's game was sent to us by Stuart and his playgroup, and Stuart is playing Thraximundar, keeping Kazul's Fury, Soul Ring, Island, Swamp, Whisper Blood Liturgist, Gisa Glorious Resurrector, and Vonus Hunger. Thomas is playing his Kynaios Tiro of Meltis deck again, keeping a Mountain, a Plains, Alchemist Refuge, Heatstroke, Disrupt Decorum, and Boros Charm. Ethan is playing Zurzoth Chaos Rider, keeping Ashnod's Altar, Hellrider, Runaway Steamkin, Field of Ruin, and 3 Mountains. Alex is rocking Esika God of the Tree, keeping an Indatha Triome, Arcane Signet, Plains, Farseek, Maelstrom Nexus, Zur the Enchanter, and Shouldered Whispering One. Alex wins the die roll and starts us off. He plays a tapped Indatha Triome, passing. Stuart draws and plays Kazul's Fury as Kazul's Cliffs, and passes. Thomas draws and plays a Mountain and then ships the turn. Ethan plays a Mountain and casts a Skull Clamp. Alex plays an Island and casts Farseek, passing. Stuart draws, plays a Swamp, and casts Soul Ring. Thomas plays a Plains and passes. Ethan draws, plays a Mountain, and casts a Runaway Steamkin. Alex plays a Plains and casts an Arcane Signet. Stuart draws, playing out Evolving Wilds, and then casts Whisper Blood Liturgist. He then cracks the Wilds to go and find a swamp to save some time, and passes while searching. Thomas draws, plays an Alchemist Refuge, and casts a Frontline Medic. Ethan plays another Mountain and casts Zurzoth, getting a counter onto his Steamkin. Moving to combat, he swings the Steamkin at Alex for 2 and passes. Alex plays a Forest and casts the backside of his commander, the Prismatic Bridge, and passes turn. Stuart draws, plays an Island, and then casts a Cauldron of Souls. Moving to combat, he swings Whisper at Alex, dealing 2 and passing. Thomas draws and plays a Rockfall Veil, but is still missing blue mana sadly. He joins on the Alex hate train, swinging at him for 3 and then passing turn. Ethan draws and plays a Mountain. He casts an Otherworld Atlas and moves to combat. He swings Zurzoth at Thomas for 2, and they each draw a card and randomly discard a card, with Ethan making a Devil. The Prismatic Bridge triggers on Alex's upkeep, flipping into a Progenitor Mimic, which comes in as a copy of the Frontline Medic. He then draws for turn, and plays white, blue, black, red, and green to cast a Bringer of the Blue Dawn. After that, he passes to Stuart. Stuart draws, and plays a Phyrexian Tower. He then casts a Gisa Glorious Resurrector, and follows up with a Spiteful Prankster. Thomas plays a Mountain, and casts Iroas God of Victory. After contemplating some attacks, he decides against any, and passes. On his end step, Ethan adds a charge counter to the Otherworldly Atlas. Ethan draws for turn, and activates his Otherworld Atlas so everyone gets to draw a card, making him 3 Devil tokens. He then plays a Field of Ruin, and casts a Hellrider, pumping up the Steamkin. Moving to combat, he swings a Devil at Thomas. Both he and Thomas draw a card and randomly discard a card, and Thomas then blocks the Frontline Medic. The Devil dies, but there's no death trigger thanks to Gisa, but Thomas still gets pinged from the Hellrider, and once that's done, Ethan passes turn. The Prismatic Bridge triggers again on Alex's upkeep, and this time he flips into a Bringer of Black Dawn. He then draws 2 cards off the Bringer of the Blue Dawn, and then another for his turn. He plays a Reliquary Tower, and then casts a Maelstrom Nexus. Stuart draws and casts Blight Mound. He follows up with a Wayfarer's Bauble, and then a bonus Hunger, getting the city's blessing as he casts this. Thomas sacrifices the frontline medic, Ethan sacrifices his devil tokens, and Alex sacrifices his Bluebringer and the Progenitor Mimic copy, which all get exiled under Gisa. Stuart then follows up with a Bajuka Bog and targets Ethan's graveyard, and then passes to Thomas. Thomas draws and casts Nils, Disciple Enforcer. He then passes through his phases to his end step, putting a +1/+1 counter onto Nils, the Steamkin, the Progenitor Mimic copy of the frontline medic, and the Spiteful Prankster, and passes to Ethan. Ethan draws and removes the counters from the Steamkin to get some mana and casts an Ember Maw Hellion, putting another counter back onto the Steamkin from casting a red spell. He then casts an Impact Tremor as well, and gets another counter, and then activates the Atlas once it resolves, making his opponents draw a card, and makes 3 Devil tokens, dealing 1 each from the Impact Tremors, which get an additional damage thanks to Hellion for a total of 6 to each of his opponents. Ethan then follows up with a Mountain for turn, and passes. Alex tutors a Sphinx the Second Sun to the top of his library with the Blackbringer trigger, and then flips into it with a Prismatic Bridge before drawing for turn. He then casts an Idyllic Tutor, which cascades into Resurgent Belief, which he decides not to cast. He goes into his library, grabbing and revealing Paradox Haze, and then casts it, targeting himself. Moving through his second main phase, the Sphinx gives him another beginning phase, making another Mimic, and losing 2 to the Bringer trigger gets a Twilight Prophet so that he can hit it with the Bridge trigger. He then ends his turn. Stuart gets a Decayed Bluebringer and Frontline Medic on his upkeep, and draws. He then casts Thraximundar, and swings it at Alex, who sacrifices the Frontline Medic to the trigger, and blocks with one of the other ones. After that, Stuart passes. Thomas draws, and uses Crossing Grip to take out Paradox Haze, before moving through his phases to his end step. He puts counters onto Nils, the Steamkin, and Thraximundar, and realizing that Ethan needs to deal with Alex, Stuart sacrifices Gisa to the Phyrexian Tower, making a Pest token, and uses the mana to crack his Wayfarer's Bauble. Ethan draws, and removes the counters from the Steamkin to cast Furnace of Wrath. He then activates the Atlas, having the table draw a card, and has 3 Devils come in, dealing a total of 9 damage this time. Ethan then Skull Clamps a Devil, and with Stuart's Spiteful Prankster dealing 2 to Alex, and the Devil's on Death trigger dealing another 3. Ethan repeats this process, with another 5 being dealt to Alex. He then plays a Temple Bell, and a Mountain, and then passes to Alex. On Alex's upkeep, Ethan activates the Temple Bell to kill him and deal another 9 to the table. Stuart responds to this by sacrificing Alex's Bluebringer and a Pest to reanimate Gisa. The Spiteful Prankster deals 4 to Ethan, and Stuart makes a replacement Pest, and the other damage resolves with Alex dying, and Stuart dropping to 17 and Thomas dropping to 13. Once that's done, they move straight to Stuart's turn. Stuart draws and casts a Reassembling Skeleton, and then Sidisi Undead Vizier. With Sidisi coming in, he exploits the skeleton to tutor for a card to put to hand. The Prankster deals another 2 to Ethan. He then sacrifices the Pest to the Phyrexian Tower, dealing 2 to Ethan again, and then casts the Meathook Massacre, where X is 1. This takes out all the Devil tokens, and Gisa prevents the on-death triggers. And moving to combat, he swings Thraximundar and the Prankster at Ethan. Ethan sacrifices the Steamkin to Thrax's triggers, and then chumps with the Hellrider, taking a total of 8. Once that's done, Stuart passes. Thomas draws and plays a Deserted Beach to finally get blue mana. He then casts Daryl, Hunter of the Walkers, and moving to combat, swings Nils at Alex for 8 more. In his post-combat main phase, he makes a deal with Stuart to not kill him, and casts Boros Charm to deal another 8 damage to Ethan and pass his turn. Ethan draws and plays a Mountain. He activates the Temple Bell, making 2 Devil tokens once his opponents draw a card, and this deals 6 to his opponents. He then casts a Phyrexian Altar and a Havoc Jester, which deals another 3 to each of his opponents. Ethan then sacrifices some creatures to try and take Stuart out, and Stuart responds by activating the Cauldron of Souls on Sidisi and the Reassembling Skeleton. He then sacrifices them both to Whisper, and the Prankster deals another 4 to Ethan, plus the Meat Hook Massacre has each of Stuart's opponents losing 2 life. Sidisi persists, and Stuart sacrifices Whisper to deal another 2 to Ethan. Since Ethan's gonna die to the Meat Hook Massacre triggers and the Spite triggers, he decides to do at least a little bit of damage to Stuart by sacrificing the rest of his board to deal 4. Ethan then dies, and the Meat Hook Massacre brings Thomas to 1, and Stuart still has to tutor before moving to his turn. Stuart draws and casts Attrition. He then passes, and on Thomas's upkeep, staying true to his deal to not kill him on his own turn, Stuart sacrifices a creature to ping Thomas for 1 and win the game. Game review time. So I was really impressed with Ethan's Zurzoth deck, and I liked a lot of the draw spells or tech that he used to basically be able to guarantee himself extra devils on his turn. It was sweet seeing how powerful it was with that Furnace of Wrath, although it did seem to lead to his own downfall. I guess there must be some kind of unspoken rule that when Alex pulls out his Esika deck, you probably have to kill him first or things are going to get out of hand. I love the fact that he runs those bringers, and I've never actually seen any of them in action until this game, and I got to see 2 of them, so thanks Alex. Thomas's Kynaios Tiro deck didn't actually get off to a great start, and it seemed like he was missing some blue, which is a bit unfortunate. It seemed an awful lot like Stuart's Thraximundar deck was a zombie-based deck. It was great seeing the new Gisa in action, and that Meat Hook Massacre was brutal this game. This video wouldn't be possible without the help from my sponsors, Cool Stuff Inc., Multizone, Original Magic Art, and Alter Sleeves. But it definitely wouldn't be possible without the help from you, the viewers, and my patrons. So I just want to say thank you for watching, and to remember, friends are just opponents you haven't eliminated yet.